Underground Bunker. This is your proprietor, Tony Ortega. Today is Monday, April 28th. And if you were subscribed to TonyOrtega.substack.com, you got the big news this morning. If you aren't, please go to TonyOrtega.substack.com. Sign up for free emails. You'll get our morning story coming right to your inbox every day. And today, what you would have gotten are the new photos from the Church of Scientology from their L. Ron Hubbard birthday event back in March. And once again, what a bombshell. Right there in the front row, giving a standing ovation to church leader David Miscavige, is Handmaid's Tale actress Elisabeth Moss. We first broke this story a year ago that Elisabeth Moss was in the front row at this event. We had never seen her at a Scientology major event before. This is something we keep an eye on, are the photos that the church puts out about their own events. David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, lords over a few different big events every year. New Year's Eve in Los Angeles, which is losing its importance. You rarely see really big celebrities there anymore. Los Angeles in general has lost stature in the Church of Scientology. In March, they have L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, was born on March 13th, 1911. And so March 13th is the holiest day on the Scientology calendar. And every year around that date, they have a big celebration at the Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater, Florida. And John Travolta tends to go to that one because he lives in Florida. We saw him in photos in 2023 and 2024. We think we may see him in the ones this year, but it's not too clear. I can't say for sure that he was there. But that's the one he tends to go to. And then in October, David Miscavige holds the IAS annual Patrons Ball at St. Hill Manor in East Grinstead, England. That's the one Tom Cruise tends to go to because he lives in England. And he put on a big show in 2023 and 2024 at that event. He has gone to the birthday event in Florida. The last time we saw him there was in 2019. Again, the way we know this is Scientology itself puts out a slideshow about each of these events at their websites, and we go through it meticulously to see who we can see in the crowd. And for the first time ever last year, we saw Elisabeth Moss, not just at this event, but in the front row, standing next to John Travolta. She was very pregnant. I've been asked why I make that big deal about that. Look, she looked like she was at least 8 months pregnant, and I don't know, the women I've known who were 8 months pregnant would not want to be going to an event like that and standing and giving ovations to somebody. That's not something you want to do when you're that pregnant. So I'm pointing that out to show you what an effort she made last year. Mike Rinder, we're so sorry we lost Mike Rinder this year. I asked him about this last year, and he said it was significant that Travolta was with her in the front row of that event last year. He was pointing out that 20 years ago, they did the same thing with Tom Cruise, where they really groomed him to become a bigger symbol for the Church of Scientology and to become more involved. And he wondered if maybe they're doing that with Elisabeth Moss, and that's why Travolta was there to kind of guide her along. So that was really interesting. I tried to get Elisabeth Moss's representatives to say something about that last year. They said they were not going to give any kind of a comment. And so I was unable to write about that for Daily Beast. And really nobody but the Underground Bunker reported on Elisabeth Moss being in the front row with John Travolta last year at the birthday event. So now there has been a new birthday event this year, and it's taken them a long time to put together their slideshow. Finally, it was made available last night, Sunday night. I went through it very early this morning, went through the pictures, looked at the crowd, and there she is once again. In March 15th, I believe it was, a Saturday night, Elisabeth Moss, front row, giving a standing ovation to David Miscavige. I think this is very significant, people. I think, I know you're seeing stories right now in the tabloids. They're always, writing these stories, pretending that they have some information that Tom Cruise or John Travolta is leaving Scientology. It's all garbage. The latest one's about Travolta because he went out on the town with some non-Scientologists. You'll notice in those stories they never consult, Scientology experts like Claire Headley or Jefferson Hawkins or Leah Remini. They would have told them that there's nothing wrong with a Scientologist going out with non-Scientologists on the town. What is important and the speculation on Travolta is that since Kelly Preston died, his wife died, that he's drifted away from Scientology. But there's no evidence of that. She died in 2020. Travolta was at the birthday event in 2023 and front row in 2024 with Elisabeth Moss. These tabloid stories never tell you that. And, sure, if they want to theorize that Travolta's leaving, fine, but they have to at least acknowledge that we have photographs of John Travolta in the front row at these events. Now, I think it's really significant that Elisabeth Moss has been in the front row for 2 years running. I think that's a much more important story than these tabloid speculations about Cruz or Travolta. Why do they keep speculating that? I'll tell you why. Because people have a really hard time understanding what's going on with these celebrities. Everyone wants to think that Tom Cruise is only in because they're blackmailing him and that Travolta really would like to leave because Kelly died or something. They don't come to grips with the most basic fact, and that is this. They are true believers. Tom Cruise, John Travolta, Elisabeth Moss, they really do believe that L. Ron Hubbard was the most important human being who ever lived, and that David Miscavige, the current church leader, is the most important human being on the planet today. I know it's really hard to wrap your head around that, but see, when you're wondering to yourself, why would Elisabeth Moss be involved in this group? Sure, she grew up in it, but why would she go to the trouble of going to this event and giving David Miscavige a standing ovation? While you're struggling to understand that, they're struggling to understand why you haven't joined yet. It's just a completely different mindset that we have. Elisabeth Moss really believes that the Church of Scientology is the only salvation for this planet, which is a prison planet, and only David Miscavige can help lead us out of that. I know it's really hard to understand. It's so wacky. But I'm telling you, with her showing up front row both times, that's in front of the entire crowd. That's in front of the most wealthy, most important Scientologists. She is making her mark. She's letting people know that she is a very involved celebrity, like Nancy Cartwright, like Trish Duggan, some of these wealthy donors. And it's really interesting that she's not saying a word about it to the public. Right now, she's on a publicity campaign for the final season of A Handmaid's Tale. I couldn't get her representatives to say anything. Maybe a reporter on the beat can ask her, hey, what's with the ovations for David Miscavige? What is that about? Why, you're acting in a series that's portraying this dystopian, ultra-Christian, super-nationalist group world, Gilead, and in a very negative way about rights being taken away, all that, and you're applauding the leader of an organization that's accused of the same exact kinds of trafficking and controversies. I mean, about controlling people's lives, ripping families apart, forcing young women to have abortion. That's documented. That is documented that Scientology for years and years has forced young women to have abortions. That comes directly from David Miscavige, the man Elisabeth Moss was giving a standing ovation to in March. I'd like to see her ask that question. I wish I could myself. But I want to make sure you knew about it. Please go to TonyOrtega.substack.com. Check out the photos. Sign up for free emails. We're going to have follow-ups. I want to make sure you see them. All right. This is your proprietor signing out.